Pastor. Welcome to my Common Sense Living podcast, where I will add common sense and value to your life. Get a pen and paper because you're going to want to take notes. Today, we have a special guest, Jen Hardy. I first met her at a fundraiser for self-defense training for women and girls. How cool is that? I'll let Jen tell us more about herself and why she offers self-defense to females. As talented as she is, I'm sure there's much more to her story. So Jen, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. Excited to be sharing with you.
Thanks. Mm-hmm. What was your motivation to do defense training for women and girls?
Well, it actually turns out that my father here in San Antonio owns STW Krav Maga and Fitness. So he's been hosting seminars for women and girls for about 15 years. And my sister and I have always been involved. In fact, the name of the nonprofit, Dangerously Cute, was actually my sister's idea. And I saw, as an ex-public educator, an ex-high school coach as well, that there was some red tape that was a little harder to get through when you're a for-profit and you're trying to bring something of this nature to high schools, for example, or middle schools, or a lot of places, really. And so in 2020, right before COVID, I decided to go ahead and apply for us to be a nonprofit, an official 501(c)(3), and try to see what we could turn it into and how we could go from just a couple of seminars a year at most to supporting more women, more kids, and just really having our reach expand a little bit more throughout the San Antonio community.
Neat.
Yeah, but in why do I do it though? It's unfortunate that we live in a world where women and girls need to know how to defend themselves,
Yeah, and I just think that's awesome. That's awesome. The confidence it gives these women and the girls growing up. I mean, when I grew up, there was suppression. Women were, you cook and have babies, basically, because I'm old. So we didn't know self-defense. I mean, in 1964, my sister, her class wanted a girls' basketball team, and the mindset was, oh, you just want to show off your legs in shorts.
Wow.
And in 1970, I think they finally had one. But that was the mindset back then. So we've come so far. But women, well, there's a lot of ways that we are in need of self-defense, even mentally self-defense. People put you down nowadays, especially all this badgering, for a lack of anything else, the put downs and bullying. That's it, the bullying. And we didn't really have that back in my day. So, you need to even have a mindset of self-defense mentally so that stuff deflects from you. But in the dangerous world we're living now, where you can't walk down the street by yourself, it's good to have some kind of skills. It builds your confidence, where you shouldn't be throw caution to the wind and just go blindly walking somewhere. I mean, go on a trail in the woods by yourself, not a good idea. Especially with headsets in, so you don't even hear anything. Take your dog with you if you have to, something. But it's good to have some skills that you could know where to pop them. Our dad taught us that, he told us where, but he didn't show us, basically. We didn't and luckily we never had to deal with that. We just say, I'm going to tell my daddy.
You're right, though. It has been a pretty drastic shift for women as a whole.
Yes.
And it is very much mindset, self-defense, as well as physical. In fact, we do spend time discussing the mindset of it all. And, protecting ourselves goes way beyond physical self-defense. I mean, I take it as far as discussing protecting your energy and learning how to set boundaries. There's a wide array of what self-defense truly includes, especially for a woman.
Right.
So you're 100% right. There's so many different facets, and that's probably why I appreciate it so much, because so outside of doing the nonprofit, I'm actually a neuro-linguistic trainer, empowerment coach, and keynote speaker as well. And I utilize the opportunity I have with these women to teach them physical self-defense because I see the transformation it has internally and mentally. and emotionally. And when they recognize that there's so much more that they could be dealing with, practicing, like letting go of, boundaries to be set, like then I can offer, here's some other versions of training and workshops that do dive even deeper into the mental and emotional side of things, and not just the
Right,
physical
right.
things.
Yeah. But if you find yourself in a situation where you need to do that, well, that's good to know. But this other mindset kind of keeps you from being, I call it my intuition. That, maybe you shouldn't go with that crowd, or, a lot of different variables out there.
Oh yeah, and it's fascinating to me how many women no longer trust their own intuition. It's really, it's pretty fascinating. It's common that we've stopped trusting our gut, or stopped trusting the hair on the arms, or stopped trusting the, like, this doesn't feel right. And that is a conversation we have. I tell people, women, if it don't feel right, it ain't right.
Exactly.
Get out of there.
See, I take it so for granted because I've always trusted my intuition, and the more I spend a lot of my time outside. I have a garden, but believe me, it doesn't feed us. I mean, a tomato, okay, well, that's not really a garden. I do it because of the exercise, the sunlight, the being with nature. That's how I decompress, I guess. Through COVID, I spent a lot of time in the garden. It was my escape. And I came closer to God, to my maker, creator, whoever you want to call, and my intuition grew and grew. And so I so believe in it. We need, I think it's been educated out of us, the intuition, yeah.
I agree with you.
And we're not supposed to love ourselves. No, we're supposed to find more things wrong with us, so we fit in with everybody else that's got things wrong with them. And if they just trusted themselves and, started with that, and maybe went outside and just sat there and watched the birds and the bees, so.
I do agree. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation in itself, of how we've been trained, if you will, to think about things, and learning to not ask questions.
Yeah, exactly.
How are you supposed to trust your intuition if you're not taught how to question in the first place? That when you feel something that makes you want to go, why, or should I, or is this right? But you back that up, and we're not taught to question in the first place. So when I get this feeling, what am I supposed to do with it if I'm not supposed to question things?
Yeah. And when you say that, takes me way back. I used to build circuit breakers. Okay. So yeah, square D, in fact. And we had to put grease on the contacts. Here's the contact, and it would close, and it would make the electricity. So you'd have to put grease on that silver contact, and so much. And I asked the question, why so much? And I was told, just shut up and do your job. I wanted to know why. Why so much? Why not just a dab? Why any at all? Finally, one of the foremen took it upon himself and thought that was a valuable question. He took us in the lab, and if you've ever been to drag races, you see the lights going down and kaboom, they take off. That's what the lab thing did. You could see the lights go, and then poof, the electricity made it, and the circuit breaker blew up. That's what happens if you don't put enough grease on the contacts. Now, how hard was that for anybody to answer my question?
And how useful to know why.
Exactly.
Oh my God, if I don't do this correctly, something's gonna blow up.
Yeah, and it makes so much more sense to know why. And it was just do your job, don't ask questions, and it's so silly. And I don't mean to get off track about yours, but it's just another example with Square D. And I'm sure it's all in the past, probably not so much anymore. We'd have 5 stations in a row, and this person would know station 1 and 2, the middle one would know 2, 3, and 4, and the end one would know 5 and 4. Well, when the middle one was gone, station 3 didn't have anybody that knew how to run it. So that whole line was shut down. So if you're not taught to ask questions, if you're not valued enough to have them answered, well, what do you get? A bunch of dumbed down, unquestioning followers,
Mhm.
and that's not a good environment for anybody.
Nope.
So luckily things have grown, and because of people like you, it's awesome. And I love the dangerously cute. I think that's so catchy, because
Thank you.
you think of girls as being so cute anyway, and then watch it, they can be dangerous. Don't mess with them.
Absolutely. Well, and you know what's funny is we actually had women in the beginning who were frustrated by the name, because we do work with girls and kids, but we work mostly with women. And women would get frustrated with the word cute. And it's like, well, I can get that. I can respect that. And we turned cute into an acronym. So it actually stands for some of our pillars, which are courageous, unwavering, tenacious, and empowered,
Cool.
which are the things that we hope to instill in women and girls through being a part of our programs. And it's helped grow the name a little bit more and have more of an appreciation for the point behind it.
Right.
It was just so funny to me that so many women were like, so I have to be cute to be able to defend myself. And I'm like, okay, never even occurred to me that that's
Exactly.
how it could come across. And I got it. Okay, so let's turn it into an acronym
Yeah.
and put our pillars in there and make it make sense. So,
And then they can accept that.
yeah. And it actually feels better to all of us to have it stand for those things as well,
Right.
because those are really core values for us anyways,
Mhm.
being courageous, unwavering, tenacious, and empowered, regardless of what age you are and where you are in life, and really embracing those things. Our mission statement is to disrupt, because to say to end is a little audacious. So we say to
Yeah.
disrupt the cycle of disempowerment and violence against women and girls by teaching them to be their first line of defense.
Right.
And that does start with, not allowing the little things to still be okay. The old school catcalling, for example, or making a little comment where he's just being a boy. It starts with squashing those behaviors to begin with, to start to disrupt a cycle that's been perpetuated over centuries, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah. I it takes me back to my day, and like I went into the bar and I was with a date, and he goes up to the bar and I stood there, and all of a sudden this hand went between my cheeks, and I turned around and I wailed off and kicked the first thing I saw moving with my cowboy boot. Ow, I didn't do anything. I said, you moved. Point being, who you hang with determines who you are. So you hang with a crowd that's going to be improper to the opposite sex. Well, he maybe didn't do it, but he moved, and he was with the group. He was back one, but he was with the group that I figured did it. So it showed up. It was a message. The date I had said I would have took care of it, and I said, never mind, I did.
That's right. I can take care of myself. Thank you for the
But
offer.
oh boy, the heel of a cowboy boot on your shin. Ooh, I bet he had a bruise.
Yeah, that probably didn't feel very good, but good for you.
Yeah, you bet.
We talk about that a lot. We joke about that actually in seminars. We're like, you hit first, apologize later.
Yeah, yeah.
Because if you hit first and it's your brother, it's like, well, he won't do that again.
Yeah. Well, and do you really, if you're in a situation that you don't know what it is and somebody does something that you wail off and hit them for and apologize later because, oh, I'm sorry. To me, I look at that as being maybe your intuition telling you that something worse could happen. So you knock out eliminate that so that they won't grab you because they're grabbing their leg or whatever it is. And maybe it was nothing, but you didn't have to worry about taking that chance. So yeah, apologize afterwards.
I agree. Why not? The worst thing that happens is you get somebody a little upset and you're like, well, at least they know not to do whatever they just did ever again.
Yeah, it's a teaching moment. Yeah.
It is. And I had to learn the hard way not to sneak up on my father, for example. I will never forget, thinking it was really funny to sneak up on him in a hotel room at I think I was 16, and I got close, and all of a sudden I see this elbow come up and about to turn, and I was like, ah! like hit the deck as quick as I can to not get smashed in the face.
So a question, was your dad in the army or in the service?
No, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, he must have been military raised or in the military. And I'm like, no. I mean, his dad was in the military, but no, he was in the fitness business since he's 16 years old.
Wow.
And has been a part of gyms or owned gyms up until his 40s. And then on an infomercial one night, saw Krav Maga and fell in love with it and started training himself. Flew himself out to California to do his tests, and he's actually one of only 4 fourth degree black belts in the U.S.
Wow.
Now almost 70 years old,
Wow.
and just, you know, it's been an incredible journey with him. And then, you know, my sister and I were, what's funny is neither one of us are actually Krav Maga certified. We took our own paths, but we respect the training and the trade and what it offers women, and that's where he took Krav Maga and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and boxing and street fighting even. And what is it that women need to be able to not go toe to toe with a man? Because that's just stupid. Like,
Right.
we don't have, I don't care how trained you are, let's not go there.
Right.
Our philosophy, if you will, is what do you need to do to injure them enough to get away,
Yeah.
to get help, to get to safety, you know, to do what you got to do to evade and evacuate so that you can take care of yourself. Not, can I stand here and
Take you
take
down.
you down? Yeah, like that.
Yeah, a 5'4" lady is going to take down a 6'4" guy, right?
Even a 6-foot woman versus a 6-foot man, like it's just
Yeah.
not a battle I want to take. Like,
No, it's not a common sense value.
no, it's really not. I mean, and there might be women out there that disagree, and that's okay. You do your thing, girl. But I would prefer not to go toe to toe with men if at all possible. We say, you know, your biggest tool is that they don't know what you're capable of. So when they are dumb enough to give you the moment to react and do something, do it, and then get the heck out of there.
Is that a mentality? I don't know. I'm just speculating here on men. Somebody with a bit more smarts wouldn't do that, or more respect, if you will. And sometimes they are dumb enough to underestimate the woman because their ego or whatever.
Yeah, that's, I shouldn't even say if they're dumb enough. I should say if they're willing to underestimate what a woman could possibly be capable of, that's on them.
Yes, well, dumb enough, everybody understands what that means, but yeah, there's somebody who would take offense to that. No offense intended. Fine, people.
But that's, you know, that's, and I also say it that way because I feel like there's a misconception sometimes that in certain situations, you're just supposed to just go. And sometimes taking a breath is what you need to do to have the best chance of survival, of exiting, of getting away, and waiting for that moment to do what you've learned to be fully effective and save yourself.
So I have a question with the success that you've had with this program. Has anybody had to use it and come back and said, oh, thank you, Jen, you know, whatever they have? Good.
I mean, unfortunately, but also fortunately, right?
Yeah,
unfortunately that it experienced it. Fortunately, it worked for them. Yeah.
Exactly. That's great. And it's great that they gave you feedback.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's also just really fun to hear back from moms who bring their daughters and the shift that they see in their child once they understand how to stand up for themselves. Because I feel like that's what happens more often than not with the younger women is it's not so much that they all of a sudden start like fighting or you know, getting physical, but they do start just standing up for themselves verbally in a way that they may not have before. And that's something that means a lot to me to know that that's happening for young girls. I was, as I mentioned, a high school teacher and coach. So I was also a middle school teacher for a little while. So that whole age range of like 8 to 18, I'm just like, oh, it just was it.
Yeah. And when you
how powerful you are.
When you say that they stand up, as you said that, I could visualize, you know, when you don't have a lot of self-esteem, you kind of slump more and, you know, kind of shuffle through, you know, and when you have that self-confidence that you gain from this training, I could see that you'd stand up, you know, and you're proud and you're not afraid, and not that you're going to be a bully and walk down the hall, elbow people out. No, you just have the confidence that you exude this "don't mess with me" kind of attitude. It just exudes from you naturally because that's that energy.
Well, and that's part of what most people don't realize when it comes to like the simplest thing to do to have a better opportunity to not be in those situations is, one, to keep your eyes up, get your head out of your phone,
Yeah.
and look the world in the eye. Like, have your eyes up and pay attention and see people and let people see you seeing them. And be okay with that, especially when you're like you mentioned earlier, on a trail or in a parking lot, just being aware of your surroundings, get your head out of your phone. But it's not just get your head out of your phone, it's bring your head out of the clouds, because sometimes the moms, the women, it's not that their head's in their phone, but they're thinking about, got to get her to practice, got to get to the grocery store, still got to fold laundry, got to get the house clean. How am I going to get her to school tomorrow? How am I going to do this? And there's so many things going on in our head that we don't even know what's going on in front of our face.
Right. Yeah, that's scary. Unfortunately, I never had kids, so I always wanted them. It just never happened. So I don't understand that side, but I can imagine. I think I can understand having bags of groceries and then you don't want to drop them, but yet you're accosted, so.
Well, I'm sure you've had those days where you had a bunch on your plate in general to things that were just
yeah.
stuff going on with, if you have siblings, or if you have, a significant other, or, you still want to get home and have a date night, but you've also got to get to the laundry, and you've also got to, like, it doesn't have to be kids, like just being a full life. And things that happen, chaos.
It happens now and then. Yeah, too
Yeah.
many things on my plate sometimes.
Yeah. So
So
just being present.
You said something about neuro-linguistic or something. What is that?
Yes, I am a trainer of neuro-linguistic programming, which is, the fast version is just to say it's the study of and the science of communication. It's dealing with the mind, the mouth, the body, so the physiology, when I talk about body, and how we're communicating information always, even stuff that's not directly coming out of our mouth, and how we're encoding, how we're decoding, and how to better connect and understand other people. It's also the modeling of excellence and just utilizing those internal strategies that work, or changing the ones that don't.
Cool.
It's pretty fascinating.
Yeah. I think life itself is fascinating.
Life itself is fascinating.
The older I get, the more I just think, actually, I feel like I'm aging younger. The older I get, I'm aging younger. I feel like it. I like starting this podcast. I wanted to be a radio announcer when I was a kid. But back then I had no idea how you would even start it, because I like to talk. I can talk to anybody about most anything. They'll teach me, I'll teach them, whatever. And then through COVID and in my garden so much, and one day I realized, I said to my husband, I think I'm using my garden as an excuse. I love to learn. Voracious, anything on health. So I would take classes. I'll spend thousands of dollars on classes. And I said, oh my gosh, you spent $1,000 on this class. I've got to share it. But I had no platform. Now I have my Common Sense Living podcast, and I'm out on some social media, which I've always been scared to death of. And that one day I decided, I need to start a podcast. It's almost like light bulb moment. God spoke, and Daniel's helping me put it all together, and I'm getting truth out. And I've got, of course, my disclaimer, because I'm a nurse and a certified health coach, and I do energy work on people and animals, and I garden and all that. But I was told one time that I'm too scattered. And I thought, oh man, I wish I could be more focused on one thing. Oh, no. That was her perspective of me. And I did appear to be so scattered. I love it that I'm scattered. That's a good thing, because I know I call myself a jack of all trades. And that's how my father was. My father was 20 years ahead of his time. He built a house, and he did the septic tank system, that when we sold the house and they had to hook it up to the city, they said, wow, this was done way beyond the year that it was built, you know, way ahead of his time. And Dad was like that. And he was artistic. He did woodworking and stuff, you know, so I don't know. I ramble. I love to talk, you see.
I think it's great that you love to talk. I think it's great that you know that you're scattered and it works for you. I think there's too many times that people want to put us all, each other into boxes. Like, who says you can't be scattered and still have an amazing life and do everything that you love and still manage to get things done?
Yes, yes, that's true. Because I do a little of this, a little of that, a little of that, a little of this. And hey, when it's hot like this here in the summer, I stay in the house and I'm on TV. So
Yeah. I love that you're out of the, you don't care. You're going to be like, I'm out of the box that you're trying to put me in.
exactly, because it didn't fit me. For
Mm-mm.
years, I tried to fit in that box, and I was suffocating. I was
Yep.
suffocating.
I
And
find it really fascinating that most people are in a box of some kind,
yes, they are.
but what they don't realize is that they're actually not in a box. They're actually standing in between four pillars and can walk out at any point in time.
Yep, yep. But they're so conditioned to stay in there. I mean, what would my mom and dad think of me? What would my siblings think? And you'd be surprised how the siblings can be the worst. Your
Oh,
friends
yeah.
can support you, but your siblings, what is it? Are they jealous that you might get ahead or do something that they didn't do? And they have the opportunity also. But then they need to understand that just because you're siblings doesn't mean that you're at all alike.
Oh, yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
what else can you tell us about what you do and anything more on the dangerous cute thing? When's the next one or what?
Yeah, so we actually have a seminar coming up for moms specifically, because we usually do, like I said, women more often than not. But this next one on August 27th here in San Antonio at STW Krav Maga off Crossroads, we're hosting an event for moms who have kids 7 to 13 years old, and that will be co-ed. So any mother with a child, or girl or boy, 7 to 13 years old, we're going to focus on more like kidnapping situations, bus stops, walking home from school, gas station, you know, whatever. Opportunities for the child to learn how to defend, but then opportunities for mom and children to have conversations about what to do in blank situation. And then we also opened up 14 to 18-year-old girls only, with or without mom, that will be focused around like dating violence conversations, since they'll either be getting into high school or have been in high school, maybe heading to college. So that's the two different categories that we're working with for that. And it's only $30 for mom plus a kiddo, or if it's a 14 to 18-year-old and she's coming by herself, same thing, $30. And it's 2.5 hours, 11:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. And we did it last year and got a lot of really great feedback from the mothers. They really enjoyed not only the self-defense, because that's obviously what they came for, but they also really appreciated the conversations that we started between them and the children, and developing a plan that most people just never even think about. And so we wanted to bring that back as an opportunity. So if anyone wants to find information for that, you can find it on our website at dcwsd.org. So dangerously cute women's self-defense, dcwsd.org. We're also on Instagram, we're on Facebook. And if you message any of those people, it'll come to me. So I'll be the one that will communicate with you. But yeah, that's our event that's coming up most recently. And then we'll do one in October that'll be focused on like supporting a nonprofit in the area that's Magdalena House, who works with domestic violence survivors. And then the content that we'll be providing will be more specified towards domestic violence situations. Now, that doesn't mean you have to be in that situation to attend. That's just how we choose what content to present, like what self-defense scenarios, because a lot of people don't realize self-defense is a lot of different things. It's very situational. So we have to kind of like narrow in to a specific scenario to make sure that you leave anywhere from 2 to 3 hours of a workshop with a valid skill that you can actually do something with, versus trying to cover just a whole bunch of stuff.
Well, if a person takes something like this and they come out with one thing, that's one thing more than they went in there with.
Yep.
Don't expect the whole plate to be full, because then you're not going to be able to digest any of it. But if you get one thing out of it, yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
So
that's
that's
awesome.
what's coming up most recently. And then myself, as I mentioned, with my business personally, that I do all the NLP and empowerment work. I host workshops and seminars myself. So I also have a workshop coming up on August 20th that's specifically for women. It's basically going to be around powerful, authentic communication, developing that, understanding what may be stopping someone from being that way to begin with, and like starting to step into that side of yourself and just be a more effective, unapologetic, authentic communicator.
Kind of like some self-growth going in there.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely, for sure.
And boy, do we need that. Well, that's not taught in school.
Yeah.
No,
And that one, I do have a website for myself too. It's thejenhardy.com.
okay.
It's Jen with one N. So
Yeah.
yeah, but any of those places, if anyone needs any support or just wants to know what else is possible, I'm always here to support and see how I can make it better.
Yeah. I'm so glad I met you. You offer the community so much. I'm so inspired by you. I mean, I just got tears thinking about it, because how self-gratifying it is to know that you've saved somebody's life by what you've taught them. You don't even know that, but down deep you do.
Yeah.
Oh, gee, that thought itself is very moving. So
Really,
anyway, I teared up on that one.
no,
So
I'm like, you got me. You sent it over here. Talk about energy work. You sent that energy right over here. Okay.
I sure did. See, I am a healer, so there you go. Is there anything else you'd like to fill us in about any of the things that you do? Any area, something that you forgot that you want to throw in there?
Oh gosh.
Another
I'm sure there's tons of things. But for now, I really appreciate the opportunity to allow me to continue to share what's possible for our community and people to know that there is support out there one way or another. And it's not always as hard to get as you might think. And it's also a lot easier than you might expect in all of the different things that I've mentioned. So.
And I'm sure if somebody remembers your contact or something and gets in a situation that they don't know which avenue to take, they could call you and I'll bet you could point them in the right direction.
Absolutely. We have a wide array of resources to support. That's part of why we enjoy partnering with other nonprofits, is to find out, like Magdalena House. I mean, they specifically support women who are in a domestic violence situation that need help to get out, to get on their feet, and have kids and get educated again and re-enter the world on their own, on their own 2 feet again. That's been a really beautiful partnership to be involved with. Big brothers and big sisters out there trying to help out kids to have mentors that they may not normally have.
I belonged to that when I lived in Cedar Rapids.
Okay. Yeah.
A couple of different times.
Yeah. Operation Underground Railroad is another one that's in San Antonio that deals with human trafficking specifically.
Oh, that just, that one is, it's disgusting. It's no word to fit it. And the people that can do that. I mean, I see a baby and I thought about going to the hospital just to cuddle babies.
Yeah.
I think in a previous life, I probably had thousands of babies or something, and that's why I didn't have them this time, because I had to give them a rest, give myself a rest. But I see a baby and the innocence, and especially what you see the picture on TV, but she just had it, and the baby's laying there looking up at the mother. Oh, and that makes me think the DNA when a mother is pregnant. This is some of the health stuff I learned. I just have to throw this in. When you're pregnant, whether you abort, you have a spontaneous, miscarriage, whatever, or it's born, once you have conceived, your DNA and the baby's DNA sync and it circulates throughout both of you. Okay. So when you think now the baby's born, and this is a particular thing for me, I did a missionary group with my eye doctor, and I went to Port-au-Prince, Haiti. And this is when I lived in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And on my birthday, I called my mom, the collect call, and how are you? And I thought, oh God, Mom, I'm so sick. I think I rinsed my toothbrush under the water. You know, I'm just so sick. I knew it, she said. I knew something was wrong, but I thought it was with your sister. I don't know why she thought that, but maybe my sister had a cold or something. She lives nearby. So anyway, I thought, wow, that connection, as they say, you know, from Port-au-Prince, Haiti to Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And my mom knew something was wrong. So
Oh,
yeah, that
it
connection.
goes both ways.
Yes,
It
yes.
just happened with my sister and I and our father. I had a horrible dream, like woke up crying about the dream I had about my dad, which I'm not going to share. And I immediately called him and I'm like, are you okay? And, you know, he's like, I'm fine. Literally that night, he ends up having to go to the ER because of like stomach issues and being in pain. And I find out later that my sister also was getting all kinds of like signals and signs of like something's going on. And she basically just started calling everybody. Is everybody okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? And then the next day is when the stuff happened with our dad. And I mean, oh yeah, we're all connected.
Yeah, isn't it a blessing to feel those things?
We're all one.
Yes. This is so off topic, but we're kind of on it talking this. Yeah, I have a far infrared sauna, which somebody can see in the back corner. It's November, 6 years ago. And I'm so hot. I told my husband, I got to go outside and cool off. So I no sooner sit out there on the porch and I saw my grandma, my dad, and my nephew like this at me. I go, for me. I mean, they were all dead. All three of them were dead. I'd never seen them before, never seen them again. And I said, oh, for me. And oh, no, for Mom. So the next week, I'd gone back to Iowa to see my mom, and she has dementia, right? And she'd say, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. She'd look both ways, you know? And I said, Mom, I saw your mother, your husband, your grandson. They want you to come next time you see them. Take hold of their hands. You have our permission to go. She passed 4 months later. And we were there for that. And it was beautiful. I wrote her obituary in 15 minutes. It was beautiful. So I'm not afraid at all of death. You know, I mean, we're all going to die sometime anyway. But anyway, I see what I mean about I could talk and talk and talk. I know a little about a lot of things, and I love to share my experiences because I'll touch somebody with something that I say. And you and I, we already got this little bond, you know. And you know, it's surprising. There's a lot of people that do, and so many of them are afraid to speak up because somebody's going to think that they're nuts. You know, yeah. I've been this way since I was 8 years old.
Oh, I told my mom when I was 5 that I was her mother in another life.
Good for you.
I love being told that story. I'm like, I did.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay. Well, Jen, if there's nothing else, I think we'll give you one more shot to say how they can get a hold of you or something.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're looking to get information about dangerously cute self-defense for women and kids, you can go to dcwsd.org. They're also on Instagram and Facebook. If you're interested in getting in contact with me specifically around neuroscience or empowerment coaching and workshops, you can go to Hardy.com.
Okay. All right. Well, I really enjoyed our conversation today and getting to know you a little bit more. Yes, and I'm looking forward to seeing you at more events.
Yes, me too.
So I want to thank you so much for sharing your valuable information, and best of luck to you. So.
Thank you. I appreciate it so much. Thank you for letting me be here with you.
Yes. All right. But so thank you for coming, Jen. And thank you, folks, for tuning into my Common Sense Living podcast today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'm sure you learned something new. Please leave a kind review and share this episode with a friend, and be sure to subscribe. You'll find me on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Facebook, etc. And don't forget, we'll be here again next time with another insightful episode of Common Sense Living. I can hardly wait. Thank you for tuning in to my Common Sense Living podcast today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'm sure you learned something new. Please leave a kind review and share this episode with a friend. And be sure to subscribe yourself. You'll find me on iTunes, Spotify, and other platforms. And don't forget, We'll be here again next week with another insightful episode of Common Sense Living. I can hardly wait.